And for a purpose. It's more or less like hunters coming together for a mission of hunting, or football teams, you know, from football clubs from different regions, each picking the best player for a national team. And once the game is done, the purpose is reached positively upon victory. If the team wins, then of course they sit down and enjoy and have fun. But if they lose, of course, everyone will retreat to their teams and blame games, proceed and everything. And that is not new in ODM. I have been a member of ODM. I don't want to be the devil's advocate, but Sifuna has a point. That a party that has had structures over some time, really, it should not be getting some statements from a party that just, you know, formed, you know, came into creation over something, and then they, you know, they had issues internally, then they joined hands with a larger party and everything, and they're now all over talking as though they're the people who delivered largely for ODM. I think on that part, I slightly have a positive opinion over ODM. However, the truth of the matter is, they didn't manage to, you know, to get, they went for hunting. They didn't manage to get that antelope or anything they were hunting. So there is nothing to be together for. There is no vision, there is nothing. These guys are now all over blaming each other. It is normal that once you lose a game, you start blame games, and, you know, there are no meetings, there is no even morale for meetings. What he's saying about calling for a meeting, you can imagine that is an SG of a party. A serious party like ODM with 87 members of the National Assembly, begging, you know, begging to have a meeting. Have they even shown from themselves? Have they shown a meeting, ODM, as ODM themselves? Have they displayed? There is no single PG that we've seen in recent. I have seen members of ODM, hold on, I have seen members of ODM come to my office as the majority whip, begging to be placed in committees because they feel they've been played by their coalition, you know, in the House leadership. And then I asked them, have you raised it in the PG? They say, oh, you know, in the PG, I mean, the last PG we had was a 5 minutes PG and there's nothing, which is normal because these guys lost and there's nothing to fight for. I mean, really, where is the cake? There's nothing. What was left, the small things that were left, are the House leadership things and everything. There is no shadow ministers or anything. There is nothing. So you need not to ask, I mean, really, why are you struggling to raise a dead lion? It's a dead coalition. There is nothing called Azimio anymore. These guys have there is no vision. And by the way, they're also at a situation where they do not know what the future holds. Here is a person who is the leader of their coalition who had, going by his own words, the very last bullet, you know, and that is the leader of their coalition, so he's spent. And then there is another one who is going to the East African Court of Justice, whatever, to challenge the Supreme Court. That is the deputy. And there is another one who had an imaginary chief minister position, who is a party leader for Wiper. So this whole thing is in quagmire. I mean, it's a complete total mess. And there is an SG of a party who doesn't know whether there should be a meeting or not. Members of Azimio, please join government. Join the Kenya Kwanza. We are more organized to hold PGs every month with our party leader. And by the way, he does not direct us on what to do. We discuss, we debate, we disagree. You know, we agree, we disagree, and nobody is reprimanded, nobody is punished. That is what organization is. What has always messed ODM or Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is disorganization. Very disorganized. Very disorganized. These guys can't win anything. Trust me. Forget it. Come to Kenya Kwanza.
The SG is here, so I'll give you a chance to respond. And this is also coming at a time when Musalia Mudavadi was meeting Western.
There has to be a distinction between ODM and Azimio.
Okay.
I am the SG of ODM. It's a constituent party, just one of the 26 political parties. I don't make decisions in Azimio. I even say I am not a member of any decision-making organ of Azimio.
But you have the lions here.
As ODM, I can tell you that we have had PGs, we have met. In fact, part of the conversation we would want to have is whether, even in the distribution of whatever spoils we got, whether ODM has gotten its fair share. Because, you know, I have long been victimized because of defending my party. Because in these coalitions, what I have always been arguing for is equity. Trevor, if you have 10 children and I have 2 children, we cannot insist that both families get one loaf of bread. One of those families is starving at the expense of the other. So what we need to do is that within ODM, we are very clear on what it is that we deserve, and we understand. Because it has been explained to us that in a coalition, there's a greater responsibility on the big brother, the largest political party, to give more in order to keep the coalition together. But when we have given as much as ODM has given, you know, we have given so much, and it's in the view of some of us, it's more than we should be giving. You know, when we have given that, at the very minimum, we expect that there's going to be some level of reciprocity and respect from the coalition partners who are benefiting more from the coalition. But when we hear unsolicited attacks, you know, you could just be having tea as the SG of ODM. The next thing you hear is you are being attacked by your coalition partners. What am I expected to do in my position? I have to defend my party. That is my primary responsibility. So all we are saying, Trevor, is that even in this house that Osoro is talking about, I know that I am in government because I am a member of parliament. It's an arm of government. Which government are you going to take?
Join majority.
No, I don't need to be in the majority side. In fact, you people there is just a veneer of happiness. There is a lot of discontent boiling under in this Kenya Kwanza coalition. And you know it, Osoro. It will not be long.
But Sifuna, many would argue that it's the same thing on your side, because on the 12th of November, you sent out a tweet saying that a debate with our brothers and sisters from Jubilee on conmanship is one I would very much welcome. This was coming after you also said that Jubilee overpromised and underdid.
It was actually a response to an attack on the floor of parliament by some members of Jubilee following the vote on the Parliamentary Service Commission positions that ODM was being dishonest and that we were conmen, you know. So this is, I have repeated it here. I am saying I am prepared for a conversation with our brothers in the coalition, whether they be from Jubilee, Wiper, any other political party. We should have this conversation. But what we don't want to see is you are sitting at home and you're watching TV and somebody is attacking you and attacking your political party for something that we have nothing to do with, you know? So that debate, if it happens internally, and I continue to insist, the leadership of the coalition is different from the leadership of ODM. I am saying as an SG, and I'm sure there are other SGs even within Azimio, who would want for us to have that conversation internally. And the sooner it happens, the better. These questions that Osoro is bringing here, I think Osoro, you should not, you are not in any position to speak about Azimio better than we in Azimio. We acknowledge that we have differences of opinion. We speak freely. Even when I speak, there's nobody who reprimands me because they are aware that I have an opinion even as a member of parliament on the things that are being said. Nobody sent me to say those things. I am saying them because I see them as important, because we in ODM want that conversation, Trevor. And that conversation can only lead to greater health of the coalition. Because once we now agree with Kioni, on this issue of the debt payment, then we can sing Kumbaya and go and have Christmas together. I don't have a
Governor Watamatang, is it time to galvanize these cracks that seem to be emerging in different political parties? Because this is coming at a time when the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi also met with members of parliament from the Western region, calling for their unity and prioritization of interests of the region in a bid to spur development there.
Trevor, I remember the many times we've had this discussion here. One topic that we spoke about at length most of the time was information of political parties and coalitions. What should be the vision? What should be the driving motivation? And this comes out when you hear this discussion that we're having this morning, and especially the contributions by my brother here, Senator Sifuna, because we argued here a lot that indeed the formation or the creation and the subsequent passing of the Political Parties Act was supposed to realize the vision whereby parties and coalitions are formed and put together, patched up together with one intention, based on ideology, a roadmap, achievables that are long-term and in the interest of our people. And that is the intention that has been offended for you to have this kind of discussion that we're having this morning. Because it boils down to exactly what you have heard Honorable Osoro speaking about, that there is an antelope that people are chasing. And once you chase that antelope, the idea is to catch it and eat it.
Exactly.
You know, and if in the formation of Azimio, and I take the comments of my friend Senator here to mean, if you read between the lines, that tells you that there is likely not to be much of Azimio left. And this started showing a long time ago, Trevor, unless we want to forget quickly. Remember how Azimio, very in urgency, that was unexplained. When they were forming, they went around the marketplace, the political marketplace, trying to mop up every person with a name in politics and put them into their coalition, so that then the opposition or the opposing coalition, which was UDA, would not find any suitors. And within a short time, we were here with you on this discussion when Governor Alfred Mutua bolted out, when even Kibuda Kibwana was bolting out, when even after the elections, the current Senator Mandela, with his coalition of UDM, bolted out, and cases were even headed to court. That tells you that there was no metal, there was no fiber that connected the interests of those that joined Azimio. And this is what's playing out right now. It is what Wetangula described sometimes in Senate, that the divorce is going to be noisy and messy. and that's now what you hear playing out. And, you know, for all the time that my brother Sifuna has been with Kioni, in all the meetings there have been, you hear that he still longs to be locked in a room with him.
Alone.
Alone. To speak and talk. So that tells you that even in the first place when they were showing the facade, as though they were talking, they were not talking. This is the time when they want to talk. And I just want to say, in my view, that, okay, I agree with you, Sifuna, to the extent that ODM as a party has tried to hold its fort. And we are saying in UDA that this is the reason. And on this one, I'm serious about. That's why you find that it's not about the antelope in UDA. It is about what we are going to do. And that's why I stand, personally as a governor who's been elected in that particular coalition, that the vision must be about what are we going to do for our people for the next 5 years when we have the mandate. Okay. And irrespective, you have no other choice but to remain together because you made promises together. That's the way it has to be. Right. And so I want to urge my brother Sifuna, because him and ODM have been here for a long time, that they should pursue their course, and I agree with him that it is better for them now to remain in the minority side, you know, otherwise read as the opposition. And now be contributors, not necessarily opposers of the agenda of government, and together build a better country. Okay. Come 2027, we can go back to the ring, and if their book of instructions will still read the same things that they had in 2022, then we will still have another repeat scenario, whereby we will complete our 10 years, and Kenyans will now have a record of what an organized coalition with a vision can do for the country.
Right. Governor, now that you're still on the floor and we're running out of time here, let's talk about something here very quickly. Meru impeachment motion on Kawira Mwangaza. How do governors and MCAs thaw their relationships? What do you recommend? Because even you have issues as well in the terms of CEC. Some of them have been rejected in the county. How do you intend to handle that challenge going forward?
Well, to begin with, you heard me here many times saying, Trevor, that being a senator for 10 years, having been one of the senators who passed and participated in many laws that have anchored and strengthened devolution, that my position is that I understand that law, I believe in that law, and I'm a practitioner of it. So when it comes to issues that border on how do you relate, for example, with an assembly that has been termed intended to be independent, how do you deal with it? And that's why, Trevor, in as far as my relationship with the assembly, and even what I would be advising other governors who have come in with me, at least I have the advantage of having been in the Senate before, is that it is important to allow the assembly to do its work independently. Once they are through with their processes, you have an opportunity as a governor to either get back there and bring in the reason or the vision or the idea you thought in the first place is going to be to make your county a better county. What doesn't work is the confrontation that people envisage, that you're going to go there and start calling each other names and throwing blame games to this one and this one. The assembly is supposed to have its own mind, its own decision making. Albeit that does not mean that they will always be right. Because probably, like in this particular case, you see we had put our names, forwarded our names of 10 CECs. The assembly is right in having the discussion they did and passing 5 and faulting 5. It is now my responsibility as the governor. Take that report, see what is it that they faulted in the 5. Then once I am convinced that it is true or it is correct or incorrect, I can make my case to the county assembly and tell them that maybe in this judgment, this was not right, this was wrong, or if this is wrong, then we redo it. So I don't think that it is really a source of conflict as is envisaged.
Yeah.
The idea is that if, from past experience, you allow your relationship with the county assembly to degenerate into a chaotic one, then you can't have development. And that's what I've been urging members of my county assembly. Yeah. As the governor, I will insist that the way forward for Kiambu County this time is to make a difference from the last 2 sessions that we had, because we never realized any development because of those kind of chaos. I will stand very firmly in front and be the Democrat I am, be the leader that I am, be the father of the county that I'm supposed to be and I'm intended by law to be, by giving correct guidance. Okay. And so, in this one, in my view, Trevor, I will just have to get the report from the county assembly. We will engage with the county assembly with mutual respect, find out where the issues are. Okay. If I find in a place where maybe they may have overlooked, they may not have properly understood, they may have misinterpreted any issue, I will get it corrected. I will have it explained by my people. Yeah. If they need to re-see a person, I will ensure that that person is re-seen by them. Yeah. And if there's an area where they are right, out of them, here you're right. That is how a relationship should work like. Okay. But otherwise, anything to do with inducement to the county assembly, give this one this, bribe this one so they do this one, that won't happen. What will happen is we'll engage properly with mutual respect, have decisions based on facts. Okay. That's the way to go.
All right. Sifuna, closing remarks really briefly.
I just want to comment on this meeting of Western leaders. Trevor, I am coming to realize that the conspiracy to make sure that Luhya people never unite is deeper than I thought. And I gave you the example of the reportage of these 2 meetings yesterday, that there was a meeting of 32 legislators from the coffee growing counties with a minister. But it was reported only in light of the purpose, the real purpose of the meeting, that they were going to discuss there how to deal with the corruption cartels within the coffee sector. I can assure you, because I spoke to some of the people who attended this meeting, that in fact the discussion of rallying behind Mudavadi never happened in this meeting. The questions that were going to be discussed there were, of course, this question of maize importation. We would like him, as a member of the community that grows maize, to also add his voice to what the members of parliament are saying, that this is something we oppose. We would like him to speak on this question of the GMO as a person who, just like me, has been wholly dependent on organic for all his life. Yeah. We have to remind him of the projects, including the revival of sugar companies. Why is it being reported in a political, through the political lenses? Because many of us agree that, and this is something the governor has said, it is very easy for us to unite in pursuit of the interest of a community. For instance, unity of a cause is very easy to achieve.
Yeah.
I don't have the same political views as, say, Honorable Didmas Baraza or Boni Khalwale for that matter. But on the question of maize and protection of our farmers, we should be able to demonstrate to our people that although I am in ODM and they're in Kenya Kwanza, we can speak as one voice. The reason why these efforts are always scuttled to bring communities together, like our Luya people together, is because every time we have even tea, I can go to Musalia's office to congratulate him as a brother for his appointment.
Yeah.
That should not, the very next day, the headlines will say Sifuna has defected and now he's no longer with Raila Odinga. For me, the leader for Western Kenya still remains Baba, Raila Odinga, given the numbers that voted for him. Right. But if we have a conversation and tea with our kinsman, why is it always that when Luyas meet, it is always spun around to mean things that did not? In fact, on behalf of the members of parliament, especially those from ODM, who attended this particular meeting, I want to protest, and they told me to protest vehemently, the characterization of this particular meeting as anything other than a meeting with brethren or amongst brethren to discuss issues revolving around our region,
okay.
You know?
All right. Silvanus.
Two things. Number one, on the issues about governors and MCAs.
Yeah.
I think it should be understandable per se, although it affects the common mwananchi, that most governors who are holding office for the first time or in their first term, you've had a bit of some squabbles, which is very normal. It happens on initial stages of formation of government. You know, interests are usually very high. There are promises that possibly governors were making when they are campaigning, you know, with some of those MCAs, you know, because they happen to maybe they must have campaigned together. But again, even as they do that, they all must realize that the common interest is on mwananchi. Anything that you do, if it doesn't affect mwananchi directly in a positive way, then you're losing it as counties. Yeah. And I'll be so particular on my in-laws from Meru County, because those are my in-laws, that please, I mean, have a way and create a common ground. Have a sit down and talk to your governor and listen to what she says. You know, at times we possibly are looking at it from, you see, when I was watching the clips by Kawera Mwangaza and the husband and everything, complaining, you know, I've been denied access to the home and stuff like that, perhaps we need to listen, because I believe that Governor Wamatangi has a space for, although it's not clear in law, he has a space possibly for his wife, and it could even be, it is in his official home. So we need to listen to him. Their way of expression might be different. You know, they may come out in expressing themselves a bit different, in quarrelsome or something, yeah. But we need to listen to them. Okay. And finally, on the issue of Edwin Sifuna, he's raised an issue about the unity of the Luya nation. Yeah. I want to challenge us now, the larger Western region leadership. Yeah. And when I mean larger Western region, the places from, you know...
West of Nakuru.
The west of Nakuru, the entire region. That is Gusii, the Luo nation, and the Western Kenya. We possibly need to have a sit-down and define, you know, our way of operations. Okay. I don't envy the Luya nation per se. They really have... regardless of their huge numbers in terms of population, they hardly lack that. They mostly lack that, you know, political space. By, you know, that they have that political kingpin, yeah, who can bargain things, you know, on their behalf. And if Mudavadi is taking that stage, please, Sifuna, allow him. Let him take that stage and let him be meeting these people.
How many times and sit, stage? And you have had 30 years, bro.
And sit with him, you know, join him. He's the senior most in government currently. Yeah. And support his presidency bid in 2032. Okay. And then you'll be president possibly when I become president in 2037.
Okay. Gentlemen, we have to leave it there. His Excellency Kimani Wamatangi, Kiambu Governor Edwin Sifuna, Senator for Nairobi, and Silvanus Osoro, Member of Parliament for South Mugirango. Let's cross over to, we are closing this segment of State of the Nation. Coming up next is Willis Raburu, and he has a special guest. Stay to find out.